Hello, all the way from the past. It struck me today that I can only ever communicate with you either in the present or from the past, but I can never communicate with you from the future. It will always be hindsight, and that's the topic of today. Because how often do you get to the future and you realize actually it's so much different from what you originally anticipated, right? But in our businesses, we constantly need to be forward thinking, we need to be strategizing, we need to be planning for the future. And anticipating change and adapting to our expectations, this is what we need to do even before the future happens. And if you do this well, you have the potential to get ahead of the market and blow your competitors out of the water. But if you don't, you run the risk of falling behind, but not only falling behind, you might even run the risk of losing your business altogether. Because as they say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, but also hindsight is 20/20 vision and all of these things that we hear about. So what the heck are we supposed to do? Thinking forward, thinking backward, planning? I don't know. Well, let's unpack this idea of future-proofing your business. According to the Collins Dictionary, if something is future-proof, it will continue to be useful and successful in the future, regardless of how the situation changes. And the process of future-proofing is the process of anticipating the future and developing methods of minimizing the effects of shocks and future events that might happen. So firstly, if we think about that, it's a process, right? It's something that is ongoing. It's not something happening only once off. And secondly, it's about minimizing the effects of future shocks. You're never going to be able to avoid it altogether necessarily, but you need to start putting processes in place to minimize the potential effects. So what is it? Future-proofing is not the following. It is not looking into a crystal ball and magically trying to see what the future might hold in some sort of magic, mysterious, mystical way. Okay, it's not that. It's also not a once-off event, as I've said, that you would do once and you make some changes and then forever and ever, amen, you will be fine. It's not that. It's also not something you can do on your own based on your own understanding of what is happening. And it's definitely not a solo venture in that sense, okay? But there are different things that you need to understand and different things that you need to consider as part of this concept of future-proofing your business. Some of them are very clear-cut and there might be some strategies that you need to put in place, but some of them are also some mindset or mind shift changes that you need to make. Now, some of these areas we'll be covering in a little bit more detail over the next few weeks, which I'm quite excited about. But let's have a look at some of the mindset changes and maybe one strategy, one practical strategy that you need to implement today or that you can implement today. So let's have a look at 4 things. Firstly, don't keep all of your eggs in one basket. I still recall, if I think back to like grade 3, when we heard this idea about keeping all of your eggs in one basket. Now, this is very many years ago. We had a little computer game that we played, and there were some chickens that were sitting on a shelf, and you were the farmer, and you had to run around with this basket, and you had to try and make sure that you're catching the eggs on time. And if you don't, the eggs obviously fall, and if the basket gets too full, you also end up in the situation where you actually can't keep catching eggs. And this can impact on your entire basket. Now, it's the same thing in our business. Now, you might have a single product or a single service or a single strategy that is working really, really well for you right now. But it might not be sustainable, and it might also not be where people are going in the future. So you need to start looking at ways to diversify your business, whether it's in terms of your offerings or whatever the case might be. But if you've got a cash cow right now, think about how you're going to either keep that cash cow relevant or find another secondary option or third option that can help to supplement that income. So it can be really dangerous for your business to compete and really rely on one part of your business for complete world domination. I mean success, right? Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is that you need to start thinking about what types of demand will be prevalent in the future. Now, one of the best examples that you might have heard of, and I'm sure you've heard of this before, is Henry Ford's invention of his version of the vehicle, or the motor car, where he once wanted to provide a reliable, safe, affordable mode of transport. He's famously quoted to have said that if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. But look at where we are now, right? Going from fast horses to really fast Ferraris and vehicles that can do a whole lot more than what a horse can do. So the demand has changed. And if he had just asked his customers what they wanted, he would have not gotten the right answer. So we need to be imaginative. We need to really be forward thinking in the types of solutions that we are looking to roll out to our customers. And if you think about it, we are still driving Ford cars, even, I don't know even how many years later down the line. So he was really able to change the entire future of what transport looks like. And if it wasn't for him just thinking outside of the box, we wouldn't be where we are today. Okay, so the third one, you need to keep in touch with changes in your industry. Make sure that you're touching base with what is happening, not just locally, but what is happening globally, even looking at what is happening in developed countries as opposed to developing countries like South Africa. Okay, so whether it's following the news, whether it's following influencers, whether it's getting newsletters, CB Insights, for example, is a really great one to see what is happening in the tech space, but there are a lot. So think about where you are in your market, what industry you are in, and see who you need to follow to make sure that you are keeping up to date with what is happening. Try and look for some patterns that you can potentially identify and decide how, based on those things, you can start preparing for your future today. And potentially you could be one of those forerunners in our economy, right? If you can spot those trends before someone else does, and you can make sure you are adapting to that, you're going to be in a really, really good position. Then the fourth one I want to talk about today is to identify, understand, and manage the risks in your business. Now, this is really where our financial management risk workshops that we've been running this month comes in. We need to make sure that we are prepared to deal with uncertainty. And some risks are more likely to happen than others, and some are more likely to have a significant impact than others. The question is not necessarily how likely it is that it's going to happen or how significant the impact is going to be, but it is about how you're going to manage that risk and what you're going to be putting in place to make sure that you are controlling what could happen. So if you are ready to start this process of future-proofing your business, either sign up to attend our financial management risk workshops. So you would have potentially missed our first session, which was a content session, but you still have the opportunity to access that content on our learning management platform. And in 2 weeks' time, we will be having our coaching session. And I know that this is going to be really valuable because we are going to be helping the business owners in those sessions to start putting together a risk matrix, to start understanding what sort of risk strategies I can put in place. Okay, think about if we had to go into another hard lockdown, what are you going to do? Okay, so we need to make sure that we are preparing for those. Alternatively, if you are not keen for the training, that's fine. You can contact me and we can have a little session where we talk about how you can manage your risks better. We can start putting together a risk matrix for you and make sure that you're putting the right strategies in place. In the meantime, hold on to your roller coaster seats as we talk about 4IR next week, and I'm super excited about this concept. I love tech. So if you want to learn more about 4IR, and this can be a massive topic, but next week we'll just be touching on that lightly. So I hope you are ready. I'm super excited, and I will see you there. Bye-bye.